Those who refuse the gift of eternal life are condemned to wander in the darkness of eternal night. Coming this fall from SJS Direct. TMZ and other media outlets are releasing a photo of Bill Cosby's recent mugshot and using this image in an effort to try to demonize Bill Cosby before his upcoming appeal. Now, this recent image from 2020 features Bill Cosby with unkempt hair and an unshaven face, smiling in the mugshot and with a face mask around his neck. Now, this image is being presented because the mainstream media wants to make Bill Cosby this remorseless black brute who has no regard for anyone, and they want to push that narrative of Bill Cosby being this black brute who practically is smiling about his crime, so they can try to torpedo Bill Cosby's appeal and prevent him from trying to correct one of the greatest travesties of the American justice system, a conviction where Bill Cosby was railroaded through the courts and, as I see it, maliciously prosecuted by Kevin Steele in a kangaroo court trial that had so many judicial errors it wasn't funny. And this was all done because Bill Cosby, as I see it, went and made speeches that some on the left didn't agree with, and now they want to punish Bill Cosby for making those statements like the pound cake speech. So what they want to do now to continue punishing Bill Cosby is try to find ways to undermine his appeal, where he clearly has facts as related to the law, and try to make him look like the bad guy in the court of public opinion before his whole case goes to the trial with the appellate court judges. Now, what many people don't understand about appeals is appeals are not a case of being tried in the court of public opinion. Appeals are supposed to be tried based on the facts of the case, and when you take a critical examination of the facts of Bill Cosby's case, there clearly was judicial misconduct from day one, because when you have a prosecutor like your Kevin Steele talking about how he's running for office on the whole basis of convicting an individual like Bill Cosby, that clearly shows malicious prosecution, and it shows a clear bias of the prosecutor as related to pursuing the case, because a prosecutor is not supposed to allow themselves to get emotionally involved in a case. No, a prosecutor is supposed to present factual arguments as related to the evidence. And the previous prosecutor that came before Kevin Steele, on looking at the facts of the case as related to Bill Cosby's alleged assault of Andrea Constant, saw not enough evidence there to prosecute, but your Kevin Steele decided to bend the law and make the facts fit his argument, and he went out here and got a judge who was clearly biased against Bill Cosby as well, further reinforcing the whole malicious prosecution of Bill Cosby. And now, after getting his conviction based on trumped-up charges and practically destroying the rights of men all across this country, because this Cosby conviction not only affected Bill Cosby, like Kevin Steele wanted because he was an emotional male, he also set a legal precedent that has done damage to men's rights all across this country, because now, instead of us being under the standard of due process under the law and a man being innocent until proven guilty, we are now still under the legal standard of trust and believe. And that standard is a dangerous standard, because that is the same standard that white women used during Jim Crow, to get black men arrested and charged for crimes just based on their own word. And it also was used by these same white women during Jim Crow to get black men lynched and murdered by terrorist organizations like the Ku Klux Klan. And this whole legal precedent has, in this era of the Me Too movement, has made it where men now have no interest in engaging with women, and has made it where people cannot even engage in any sort of social situation with a woman, because instead of there being a process of law where we have to have an investigation based on facts and evidence, we now are under this standard of trust and believe, and all it takes is for a woman to make an allegation against a man, and that man can be arrested, prosecuted, tried, and convicted, and there doesn't even have to be any sort of evidence at all as related to the whole case. So that's the dangerous precedent that Kevin Steele has established in his prosecutor's office with the support of your Kristen Gibbons Fedden, the black woman who prosecuted Bill Cosby. And they're not looking at the big picture of the damage they did to America's legal system with this case. No, them and people in the mainstream media are only thinking about their emotions regarding Bill Cosby, and in their effort to get Bill Cosby, they don't see the damage this case has done to American men's rights here in this country. So this appeal for Bill is not just about Bill Cosby. This appeal is also about men's rights here in America. So many people, they're thinking, oh, this is just about Bill Cosby, but no, this is about setting a legal precedent for men's rights, letting people know that a man has a right to due process under the law, and that's what got Brett Kavanaugh so upset during his inquiry where he was going for the Supreme Court. You had this Christine Blasey Ford coming out here, with an allegation, no evidence, and that's what got him so upset, because this whole Me Too and Bill Cosby conviction had an effect on him, because there was no due process under the law, and there was no due process in Bill Cosby's case. And with there being no due process, it's not safe for any man in this country, because any woman could make any allegation. And what they want to do with Bill Cosby is try to destroy his ability to get an appeal with this case. Again, not understanding that appeals are not tried in the court of public opinion. Appeals are tried in a court of law, and appeals are tried on facts. And the facts of the Bill Cosby case clearly show us that there was a malicious prosecution by Kevin Steele and Kristen Gibbons Fedden. There were numerous judicial errors in the case of Bill Cosby as related to that affidavit, because if he signed an affidavit as related to his testimony in a civil trial and was told that that would not be used in a criminal trial, that was a violation of your Bill Cosby's, as I see it, Fifth or Sixth Amendment rights of self-incrimination right there. That's one judicial error that was made. And it also, there was a judicial error as related to the judge, because the judge clearly showed bias and was not objective. And that was shown because his wife was related to was in domestic violence counseling. So this judge should have never been on this case, because he had a conflict of interest. And then we have your, again, prosecutor Kevin Steele, who ran on the whole principle of convicting Bill Cosby. That was his campaign, and that can also be brought in to a court of appeals, because all these points show a clear case of bias, and it shows that this whole case against Bill Cosby was not a fair court where Bill Cosby was given his Fourth Amendment constitutional right to a trial by a jury of his peers, or his Sixth Amendment right to due process under the law. And he did not get any due process under the law in a court where a prosecutor has run and won his seat based on just going after one individual. That, again, shows that instead of him getting a prosecution based on the evidence, he got prosecuted based on this person's personal grudge. So the Bill Cosby appeal, they're trying to torpedo it. They're trying to make Bill Cosby a bad guy, and they're trying to make him into a black brute in the eyes of the public. But this case is not tried in the court of public opinion. It is tried in a court of appeals. And in a court of appeals, everything has to go by the facts. And the fact of the matter is, even though people did not like the idea of Bill Cosby committing adultery, there is, when you look at the evidence, and there was very little of it, as any sort of crime was committed by Bill Cosby, because when you look at the backgrounds of many of these individuals who want to make these allegations against Bill Cosby, the evidence just isn't there as related to any sort of crime, because it just looks like one of these things as related to the casting couch and related to these women going to get involved with a man like Bill Cosby and then looking to try to get a deal in exchange for sexual favors. And then when the deal does not go their way, then they want to make Bill Cosby out to be the bad guy and then want to try to revise the story so that they won't look like they were culpable as related to what they were doing, but then they want to make it look like they're a victim instead, but they weren't victims. What they wanted to do was make him look like a bad guy, and this is what outlets like TMZ and many others want to make Bill Cosby look like. They want him to be this villain, but in actuality, when you look at the facts of the case from a judicial perspective, you can see that Bill Cosby is the victim here. He is the victim of a malicious prosecution. He is a victim of being exploited by the Me Too movement to push its agenda. And he has been, as I see it, technically lynched by this whole but this whole nightmare situation, because here is a black man who had an allegation made against him, was maliciously prosecuted, and then this was used to set a legal precedent that took us back to the dark days of Jim Crow. But instead of it just being Jim Crow for black men, we are now under gynocentric Jim Crow, where all men are stuck in a society where they are second-class citizens in a country they built. And if that legal precedent goes on, then men have no incentive to get involved with women, because any interaction a man has will be turned into an allegation of sexual harassment or a sex crime, and that man could possibly lose everything, all based on the allegation of a woman. So there's a lot more to Bill Cosby's appeal than just the railroading and injustice he endured. This is about overthrowing a legal precedent that will set this country back 100 years and take us back to the dark days of Jim Crow. But this time, when we're taken back to the dark days of Jim Crow, it is not only affecting black men, it's affecting white men, and no man will be able to go out here and build a relationship with a woman or build a family or build any sort of business, because they fear if they go out here and even look the wrong way at a woman, they could possibly lose everything they worked for, all based on an allegation. So there's a lot more to Bill Cosby's case than what people see as related to the racial aspects they're presenting. This also has to do, again, with men's rights and due process under the law. So people really need to look at the big picture of this appeal, because getting this appeal turned down and getting Bill Cosby acquitted of this trumped up railroading is not just about Bill Cosby's rights, it's also about men's rights all across this country. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction or some of my men's issues books like The Man Crisis, you can find all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. ISIS, Escape from Transylvania. The Goddess Next Door and John Haynes must escape a horde of vampires on the hunt in this horror-filled ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, Escape from Transylvania in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.